You on mute. You on mute, Sharia.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. How you doing?
I'm good.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going? What time we start? You said 8:30.
Yeah, 8:30, and pretty much I introduce you. You'll talk about your role over at Black Leaders Detroit, your role as the chairman of the June Jubilee Detroit Committee.
Oh,
In
you got
addition
your shirt on.
to, in addition to how I came to be a part of the committee, and then we go from
Okay.
there, talking about the past, leading up to. Well, actually, our magazine, that article pretty much says it all from inception to now. So if you want
Mm.
to reference that, because that pretty much gives us to the present, and then we'll talk about Friday event and Saturday's event and the
So the
focus.
past and now historically, or the past and now with JJD?
Um, JDD with JDD. If you want to talk about your past with regards to how you came to be a part of Black Leaders Detroit, that's fine as well.
Okay. Okay. Well, whatever you ask me or whatever we get into, I'm for it.
All right.
I'm for it. So you had a good
Actually,
day?
oh, it was all right. Yeah, it was long. I had
Yeah.
some. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the weather was nice. At least it wasn't. Well, the weather is nice right now, but next Monday and Tuesday is supposed to be like 95, 97.
I saw that. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I saw that.
I
I was
need to
like,
get
what
a new.
the? I
I
mean, I
need to
don't
get a
like
new
it being
air.
hot. That's too hot for me. You give me 70 to 80. I'm good with that. I don't need the 90s and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
look like the event Saturday gonna be I mean not Saturday. Well, Saturday gonna be nice as well. But look like the event Friday gonna be. It's been getting a lot of publicity.
Yeah,
That
I'm grateful. I'm not gonna lie, because I was a little fed up last week. Like, hey, dog, this might be it. But yeah,
well,
but
Chad he hit a home run with that interview today. So yeah, that was a good
did.
interview.
He definitely did.
Yeah,
So
that was a good
I
interview.
was glad he stepped up to do it. Like, definitely glad. So, but
And then the lineup for the candidates forum. I didn't know the debate was on. Matter of fact, somebody just called me, asked me if I saw the debate. I forgot it was on. So what
really,
happened? Yeah,
I'm
I forgot it was on.
surprised.
But I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it later because somebody's like,
Okay.
they're like, I want to know your thoughts. I was like, thoughts on what? He said, you ain't see the debate. I say no. So
So
I'm gonna
you
watch it
already
on.
know you're gonna be having some thoughts. I can't wait to hear your questions, man.
I heard, I saw some Facebook posts already. They said that Chantil knocked it out the park.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
they said she
Me,
swung it. They say she swung at all three of the candidates because it was only four of them.
that's what's up.
Yeah, so
Um,
I'm looking forward to seeing it now.
Me too. Not as you say that, but it's on analog, right?
Well,
Like,
it's on what's that thing called? WDIV digital. So
okay, okay.
yeah, Vanessa, I know I'm live. I hit the live button too soon, so my bad. And I know yourself, G Money, A Early Story, Sam, those are on so far listening to the conversation, but it's my bad. Just bear with me for another 3.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for outing me in the comments section, Attorney Moss.
Okay, well then, should we just wait then?
Yeah, just go silent. Then at 8:30, I just start talking.
All right. All right. I got 3 minutes. Give me 1 second. Mhm. I have to post that our article. Okay.
Okay, good evening. Good evening. This is Detroit in Black and White. Presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown. 8:30. I want to thank everyone for joining me this evening. Those that have already logged on, I appreciate you, G Money, Attorney Vanessa Moss. Also have the first to log on this evening was Sam. And then I have an early story. I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. And working on the intro and the theme music, I will have some of my students in the mentorship program handle that for me. So look for that hopefully by next Monday, because my guest next Monday will be the legendary Frankie Darcell. So the 23rd of June, I will have Frankie Darcell on as my guest. This evening, though, I have as the guest Sharia Ayers. Sharia Ayers is the Chief Operating Officer over at Black Leaders Detroit, and she is also the chairperson of the Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit Committee, of which I've been on for the last 3 years, and I have been very appreciative of you, Sharia, as well as Dennis Williams, who recommended me for the committee, and it's been an amazing ride. So I appreciate you having the faith in me to not only be on the committee, but you've given me an opportunity to be featured every year. I've been on the committee focusing on my passion, which is literacy. And we'll get more into that because there's a literacy panel discussion on Saturday at 12 noon. But I won't steal your thunder. I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell me about how you came to be at Black Leaders Detroit, your role, and you're just so passionate about the Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit event. And, just tell the listening audience about yourself, Black Leaders Detroit, and Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit.
Well, thank you. To be honest, thanks for being on the committee, because if it's not, if it wasn't for you all, it would be, Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit. And in all honesty, as much as I, would like to say like anything I did, it would be no me without you all, without the community, without everybody. So, thank you. But so Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit got started in 2019. And from there, we had done a few celebrations, and we were referred by one of my former teacher friends to Black Leaders Detroit. And then from there, the CEO, Dewan Dandridge, had propositioned me and was like, hey, are you looking for a job? Like, if so, like, we would love to have a conversation with you and the former COO at the time. And so I wasn't actively looking for a job at that time, but I believe, I'm a Christian. And so I believe that it was a sign, because the day I was supposed to go in for the interview, I had literally just gotten back from vacation. So I didn't have any days to take off. I didn't know what they were going to be talking about. But as God would have it, the power went out. So I made the interview and I accepted the offer. And that's essentially how I got to Black Leaders Detroit. And we are a funding vehicle for Black-led businesses and nonprofits that operate in the city. And we do it by way of everyday people donating $1 a week. We take that dollar to build the pot of money to do no interest loans and grants, which is part of what we'll be doing on Friday with the Liberation Link Up with Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit. So the beautiful thing is that Black Leaders Detroit has allowed me to be an entrepreneur with some of the things that I've been blessed to do to bring to the platform there. But Friday in particular will be the day that we will be building community through financial freedom and celebrating Black entrepreneurs. So that all ties in for Friday. And then Saturday, we'll be doing the Family Friendly Day with a number of organizations that are also a part of BLD, whether they're members or they've received grants as well from BLD. So with that, that's pretty much a brief overview of how JJD led me to BLD and what we'll be doing.
And with regards to the Liberation Link on Friday, that's also being co-sponsored by one of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated chapters, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And they will be giving out a $1,000 scholarship to a female, I'm assuming a Black female entrepreneur. So that's something different. That event has been getting a lot of publicity lately. And if you have not seen today's edition of WDIV Morning News, our fellow committee person, Chad King, was on there. He did an amazing job telling the audience about what's going on this weekend. And in addition to the Liberation Link on Saturday, two of the focal point events on Saturday would be the Literacy Forum as well as the Candidates Forum. And that would be the mayoral candidates forum for the city of Detroit. And, I've been fortunate enough to lead the literacy conversation the last 2 years. Last year, we gave it a nice little twist on freedom, because Juneteenth is about freedom. So it was spelled F, small f, capital READ, and then small OM. And that was a nice little takeoff on the responsibility and how important it is to be able to read, and the freedom you get from being a good reader. So that was a nice little spin. And, ironically, the co-moderator last year was, Erica. It was interesting. So it was Eric and Erica show last year. This year we have Coco Mulder from the city of Pontiac, who leads their Promise program, and looking forward to it. There's a dynamic group of Black men. I intentionally made the panel all Black men. And the conversation piece was centered around talking about what's not spoken, the liberation to talk literacy. And I think it's very important that we do that, because we do not do it enough. And then we constantly look at these test scores every last weekend August, the M-Step scores come out. Then you have the first of the year, February, when you get the National Assessment on Educational Progress, NAEP rather, and that's the national report card. Those scores come out, and it has not been great to read those scores, particularly for the Black communities. It's just not in Michigan, it's all over the country. I mean, it's bad everywhere. But as they say, when the nation catches a cold, Black people catch the flu. And we definitely have caught the bubonic plague when it comes to literacy and reading. And we just have to do a better job, but we can only do a better job if people are talking about it more. And that's the focus of the literacy piece on Saturday. And that dynamic panel, we have Jamaria Hall, who is one of the plaintiffs in the City of Detroit Public Schools students versus the state of Michigan. Then we also have Jawan Armstrong, who is a basketball coach, but also the dean of students of Lincoln Canyon High School, which is a cornerstone school. And then we also have Terrence Smith, who is very involved in education. He is also a Marine vet. And he would bring a very interesting perspective to the panel because, you know, those armed forces guys are very diligent with regards to how they see things. I mean, they just are regimented in how they want people to be. And then we have Dr. Curtis Lewis, who is the founder of the Black Male Educational Alliance. And it might be switched out with Anton. Anton is the executive director of the Westbrook is the last name. And he might switch off of Curtis because Curtis might have a conflict. So the new executive director of BMEA might be sitting in for Curtis, but still will be a very dynamic panel. And then we have later in the day Chad King, who was on Click On for Detroit, WDIV this morning, talking about the festivities for Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit. And he will be moderating the candidates forum that will feature I think 5 of the candidates for mayor have committed to that event. We have John Barlow, Joe Hussein, Santil Jenkins, Todd Perkins, and Fred Durhall. Those will be the 4 that have committed thus far. And it may be some additional candidates, but I'm looking forward to that panel. And we did it almost intentionally that they be back to back, one after the other. Because if you're not talking about education as a candidate for any office in the city of Detroit or the state of Michigan, you don't deserve a vote from the people. And I want to also welcome Michael Crothers, my Horizons Over Bound brother, to the podcast, as well as Michael Williams, good friend and a member of Iota Phi Theta. Welcome and for joining us. And if I miss some of the names because I don't have my Facebook up, I only have the YouTube up, and I can see those names. So if I miss some names, charge it to my head, not my heart, because I know there are others on Facebook that are watching the show as well. So let's go back to 2019, Sharia, and how it came about. You've been chairing this event for 6-7 years now. So if you look at 2019 to the present, what do you see as being the growth of the event and some things that you might want to work on going forward, or even talk about some of the locations that the Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit has been at? Because I do know we've been, last year we were at a recreation center in a park in Detroit. 2 years prior to that, we were on Livernois. And first year was just, where was it at the first year in 2019?
Charles H. Wright Museum.
That's right, you're right, Charles H. Wright Museum. So the evolution from then to now, what are you most proud of from its inception to now?
To be honest, I am most proud of the ability to grow, the buy-in, because the whole point of Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit and how it got started was to increase the awareness and celebration of Juneteenth in the city and have it be something that was inclusive of all of Detroit. And not saying that other organizations haven't done that or hadn't try to earmark it beforehand, but I was blessed to have committee members that were very helpful. So the whole thing was in 2019, my sister and I had gone out because we needed a break. My dad had been fighting for his life for approximately 3 months at the time. So he was in the hospital and, like I said, just fighting for his life. But anywho, so essentially my dad was dying and my sister and I needed a method of escape. So we went out for St. Patrick's Day. And while out, I'm seeing all these black people wearing green, talking about kiss me, I'm Irish and all this stuff. And I'm like, they probably don't even know the history of St. Patrick or the fact that he wasn't even Irish,
Right.
nor
Or
do
where
they know
Ireland is at.
that part. But also they don't know like some of the history between Irish people and black people and so I say all that to say, not saying that black people can't celebrate other holidays, but the influx of our people who was celebrating to where it was kind of like part of their own, it just kind of shocked me. And so as I'm on my soapbox and talking about history with my sister, she like, what are you gonna do about it? And so I was like, I felt challenged. So I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess the next relevant holiday to the culture is Juneteenth. So I talked to my mom the next day and I was like, where should I start? And she was like, why don't you try calling one of the blackest places in Detroit? And I'm like, that could be anything. But I called the Charles H. Wright, met Jatu Gray. She was very receptive to the idea. And then the first meeting, I put it out on Facebook and had some of the best people I could ever ask for come out and join the committee. So like I didn't know Dennis prior to 2019, nor Terry, nor Hobbs. It's a number of folks I just didn't even know. So I say all that to say, including Colleen, I didn't know her either, but and Chad, but they've been rocking with me, and this is the 7th event. So I say all that to say, because of the collective ideas and the cooperation of the right plus the people on the committee, and even like I said, between Terry, Chad, Colleen, my mom, who else is an original member? Dennis. So it's been a few of us that's been rocking together through all of it. And so anywho, I say all that to say the collective ideas as well as the work is what has opened the doors to a number of partnerships. So year one, we were at the Charles H. Wright Museum, Charles H. Wright. They were good partners. They had like leadership changes, things of that nature. But the following year, in 2021, they acted as sponsors as opposed to partners. So anywho, in 2019, they were great partners. We worked with them and we did an all-day activation from sun up to sundown. 2020, we went live and did Juneteenth Jubilee live at a space called The Building. And we had close to 5,000 people tuning in on Instagram and Facebook watching the performance online, which was, like I said, a blessing. So the momentum was there. And then in 2021, that's when we got with Dolphin Michael, Rev Ron, and Felly, who are all invested business owners and members of various associations on Livernois, the Avenue of Fashion. And so we took it there because we needed something that would allow people to be safe, you know, and 6 feet apart and not so much in a confined space. So it made sense to take it to the Avenue of Fashion. So we were there for about 3 years. And then we also built partnerships with Michigan Black Business Alliance to expand Eastern Market Brewing Company as well as Batch Brewing Company. So we went from one day to a weekend. And then after that, we went to Joseph Walker Williams Center as well as Motown Museum. So they were another partner of ours last year. And so that was a whole new vibe. And it was great because it was around the music and, of course, freedom with the arts, essentially. Because art has always been, well, always, including even with education, like every event we have is based on health, wealth, and education. But when you think about freedom, we try to look at various aspects and how it has impacted the culture. So that's what last year at Motown was about. And then, like I said, then we did Livernois again. And we also did the health fair at Joseph Walker Williams, just because when you think about the state of our health and freedom, like we need people to live, you know? So, um, but yeah, so essentially the growth has been great and it's been based on the partnerships. And then, like I said, this year we will be at the St. Regis for the Liberation Link Up on Friday in partnership with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Lambda Pi Omega chapter. And then Saturday, we will be at Robert C. Valet Park with a partnership with the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. So, yeah.
And I want to give some shout outs to some people that are watching. Mr. Duckett, he says that he's looking forward to attending this year. And, you know, one of the most amazing things about it, it's been a great committee to be on. And I say that because you have given us all the autonomy to do as we see fit with regards to the various roles that we have. And that's something that I commend you for, because, you know, the worst thing you could do when you're dealing with a lot of people is to micromanage people. And to your credit, I have to give you kudos. You have never done that, you know, from day one since I've been a part of it. And I got invited, we're introduced to you by way of
Dennis.
Dennis.
When we did 5K, yep, that's right.
So I got
I left that one out.
through him, and, you know, it's been a great ride, and it's good to see comments like what Mr. Duckett has up on the screen right now, speaking about how he's looking forward to attending, because it's been an evolution. You know, got this, you know, my third year on the committee, and we've been at 3 different spaces every year. You know, this year we're at the Riverwalk. Last year we were at the park over on the west side.
Yep.
You know, year before that we were on Livernois.
Yep, and Marygrove. I totally forgot with the 5K.
The 5K. So then year before that, you know, it was on Livernois again. And I think it's very important for people to support this event. And to your credit, because you've chaired the event since its inception in
2019.
And, you know, to your credit, many people have duplicated the event, but not to the same success. You know, this event is the premier, is not being arrogant, but this event is the premier Juneteenth event in the Detroit area. And they say that the greatest form of flattery is imitation, and a lot of people are imitating the event, but not to the same success. So, to your credit, to everyone in your organization's credit, I have to give you all your kudos for doing a great job of leading by example and allowing others to, you know, they say the greatest form of flattery is imitation. They are definitely imitating it, but not to the same success. So what do you attribute the success that this event has had over the 7-year run of it?
Well, like I said before, I attribute it to you all in the community, and I attribute it to the blessings, you know, and I just say that because I never thought it would get this big, you know, and I did not know it would get to this point. Oh wow, somebody made an awesome comment, right?
Yeah, that's G. He's a regular, so yeah, on the Detroit in black and white, you know, regular viewer, regular commenter, and this platform gives people opportunity to speak their mind and not be censored. So yeah, G Money.
That's very true.
Hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, but needless to say, I'm not discounting anybody's hardships and things that they went through, because like I said, I know history. And yeah, Irish people were discriminated against as well, especially in this country. But at the same hand, they also received the privileges of whiteness. But
Anytime
nonetheless,
anytime your skin is light, you get the privilege of the poorest of the poor has the privilege of being a racist, no matter how poor they are, and they would be a racist. I mean, you could put them up against, President Barack Obama or any well-off black person. They think they better than them just because of their skin color. So
yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I don't want to trauma compare or anything like that. So, but at the end of the day, the success of Juneteenth events and everything that we have done, like I said, it's been because of the community. It's been because of the blessings and the right people and the right doors open. And then our sponsors, most of all, people who believe in what we're doing and are willing to put money behind it, So yeah, so that's what I would say would attribute it to the growth and evolution of our success.
And let's talk for a minute the comment that Mr. Duckett put up on the screen that he contributed to the conversation. Looking forward to attending this year. What is it that you can tell him about this year's event that will give him a reason to want to be there?
Well, on Friday, it's about building community and networking and also supporting the whole aspect of financial freedom. So it is the Liberation Link Up is to build community and allow people, again, like I said, to network and really just kind of put the whole piece of your network being your net worth. So the individuals there will not only benefit from the atmosphere because it'll be live music, a DJ, small bites at the Hotel St. Regis, but it will also be a time where people can connect, and it'll be approximately 12 entrepreneurs there that will be competing for a grant. But the grant competition is connected to them networking. So whoever receives the most networking tickets and work in the room will be one of the people to receive a grant. So the audience literally gets to choose who gets the money. And then on Saturday, we have a plethora of events and activations going on all day. So we have, again, music, an ode to the ancestors, a community fun run led by City Sweat Club. We have a mindfulness zone, a kids area, field games, the literacy forum, diabetes prevention workshop. Heal Black Women will be doing a workshop there as well. We have chess. We're going to have so many different activations to meet several people's fancy. So Saturday is all about family friendly fun for people to come out and have a great time.
Again, we cannot be remiss because it's election season. You have the primary election coming up August the 5th, if I'm not mistaken. And you do have some of the candidates that will be there on Saturday. And that discussion will be led by Chad King, who is also a member of the committee. And I think it's very important that the candidates, because a lot of people feel that the primary season has been rather blah thus far. Very quiet. What'd you say?
That's typically the trend in most areas.
Yeah, unfortunately. And for the month of July, I'll be doing all my shows, all 4 shows in the month of July will focus on mayoral as well as city council candidates. And I have 2 slots left for the month of July. And I think it's great for people to take every opportunity to present themselves to the city, because when you look at 4 years ago, the voter turnout for the primaries it was less than 15%. Not much better matter of fact, the general election was only 18%. So that just goes to show you that people need to understand politics are local. So it's very important that these forums that we have, particularly the one on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, that people come out and hear from the candidates firsthand. Because,
that's true.
Because unfortunately, people into the name recognition game, but when you have an opportunity to, I've been to one candidate forum, and we had the opportunity to see the people and talk to the people. And when they're face to face, they have more of a inclination to be honest and real with you. You know, there was a debate tonight that I did not get to see. I forgot it was coming on. So right before we went on, I got a text message. I mean, I got a call actually. And it's like, what do you think about the debate? I'm like, what debate? You know, because people, I mean, I got, you know, people do appreciate my opinion when it comes to politics. And I appreciate that because I, you know, for one, I know what I'm talking about. So it was good that someone reached out to me asking me what I thought about it. I told them I'll check it out later on this evening. I'll get back with them. But the, you know, discussion that will be had is going to be very important. We did a debate last year with regards to the candidates that was very important. And people have to pay attention to what's going on around them. And we just can't take things for granted. And we just got to get more people out to vote. I mean, that's the bottom line.
That's true. But well, let me just say this caveat. I mean, Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit being a nonprofit organization, we don't endorse anybody. And we are
correct.
You know, we are just simply providing a platform for people to hear and to learn. But to be perfectly honest, as an individual, and teaching for a little over a decade, a lot of people don't understand civics. So if you don't understand civics, you're not going to understand the importance of voting and understand how it's tied to your freedom. So, you know, that's pretty much where I'm coming from with it. Like, that's why when...
Well, you need to repeat that, Sharia, because civics was in the classroom when I was in middle school and high school. Actually, it was in eighth grade. It was in eighth grade, so they don't do it anymore, and that's unfortunate because
that's not the case. They still teach civics, but this is what you got to understand, right? Civics and economics, which is the most tangible and important subjects to adulthood, is taught half a year in 10th grade. So when you think about summer learning loss, you have 2 years and 2 summers to forget what you learned for half a year in 10th grade.
Right.
So when you think about that, I'm expecting people to know what to do and be an informed citizen to vote by 18 with something that they learned half a year at 15. So it just doesn't even make sense. And not only that, as it pertains to economics and being out there in the world and understand fiscal responsibility, as well as that being part of your freedom. Like I said, if you learn that half a year in 10th grade, how are you going to apply that knowledge when you've had all this time to forget it? So I say all that to say, like, people need to understand civics and how important it is, especially on a local and state level, but more so than anything else, how it's tied to their freedom. Because what happens on the local and the state level directly affects you as a citizen. Whereas on the federal level, it's going to take a little bit more to get to you on the state or even the local. So even when it comes to a lot of the issues that we have specifically, when you talk about freedom, and we could talk about it in regards to Detroit in particular, we have a lot of justice impacted citizens. And guess who makes the laws that are implemented for those justice impacted citizens, which the majority of them, unfortunately, look like you and I.
Right.
That happens on the state and a local level. So when you really break it down historically, the 13th Amendment was put into place right after in regards to declaring our freedom, technically in 1865, but people were free unless, punishable by law. So what started happening? Laws to enslave Black people. So I say all that to say, when it comes to your freedom, civics is directly tied to that in voting.
And that's a good segue because, we talk about, 1865 and a lot of people, know about when, slaves were freed, but there was a group of people in Texas that did not get the memo. And that's how Juneteenth came about. And I know when, me and you spoke when Dennis recommended me to be on the committee. And that's one of the things that was very important for me to accept being on the committee because I, saw it initially as too much of a celebration as opposed to an education. So one thing I will have to say about you leading this committee and those that have served on this committee, the commitment to educate people about Juneteenth has been one of the paramount factors for me being willing to join the committee. I have no regrets because everybody that know me prior to me being on this committee, I was not a big celebrator of Juneteenth. And I think if you recall, one of the first things I asked you was whether or not, are we celebrating Juneteenth or are we educating about Juneteenth? And I think we were at a event at over in the Eastern Market area. Mm-hmm. I think it was a holiday event, and that's when we had a conversation. And you sold me, it's about educating as well as celebrating because it is a celebration. But I think the important piece of it also, we have to educate people why they're celebrating, and I think that's what people need to understand. And one of the comments, and I'm going to get to G Money Hollywood comment in a minute, but can you tell us which candidates will be attending? The named candidates so far, and some, still up in the air because there are a few events going on Saturday, but the named candidates thus far are John Barlow, Joe Hassim, Santil Jenkins, Todd Perkins, and Fred Durhal. That is not to say that some of the other front runners, and I put that in quotes because people vote, not polls. Some of the front runners have, made it known that they might be there, but as of the time of the printing of the flyer, these are the 5 people that gave a hard commitment to the event. Again, Santil Jenkins, Todd Perkins, Fred Durhal III, Joe Hassim, and John Barlow. So just want to let people know that. And then we have the G Money Hollywood. And this is a question for you, Sharia. For the 12 entrepreneurs that participate, is there a monetary incentive granted to someone who may finish second or third since they didn't finish in first to receive the full grant?
Yeah, so it'll be second and third place, of course. So first place and second place. So it'll be 2 entrepreneurs that receive the $2,500 grants. And then the third entrepreneur will be granted the award from the AKAs. So it'll be 3 grants given out of the 12, which of course is a quarter. But yep, so it'll be 3.
And if I'm not mistaken, the third place award is a third place award, but if I'm not mistaken, that's going to a female specifically, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So, and like I said, truth be told, it's about the people's choice essentially. So it'll be 2 $2,500 grants given out, and then one $1,000 grant given out. So yep, and the $1,000 grant specifically is deemed for a Black woman entrepreneur.
And one of the things I do like about this platform, Detroit in Black and White, we give the co-hosts, who are the guests, an opportunity for their voice to be heard, even though they're not speaking. And that's why I'm putting up all the comments as much as I can. So G Money Hollywood, civics is always changing. Laws and freedom are set by the federal and state levels, but laws can change each time there's a new political regime, whether it's the hands of the Democrats or the Republicans. And G Money brings up a very important point because I think far too often people look at what letters after someone's name without doing the research to find out who best represents them or has their best interests at heart. And I'm an independent. I'm a proud independent because I vote for the person, not the party. And I do my research. And I think that's important to do. And if you don't do your research, you run into all kinds of problems and people just, fall into the go along to get along crowd. And that's why it's so important that, having these political platforms, because even though we don't endorse, this is not an event where the committee or your organization make endorsements, because all we want to do is provide an opportunity for the candidates to be heard and for the citizens to have an opportunity to speak to the candidates and ask questions. And that's it. That's all we do. There's no favoritism. There's nothing like that. We just provide a platform for people to come out to ask their questions. And you bring up a great point, G Money Hollywood, and I appreciate it. So with regards to the great leadership you've done and has held for this event over the last 7-8 years. What keeps you going?
Ooh, that's a good question. Prayer, literal prayer. But I mean, motivation, the teams. But what keeps me going, everything I've done in my life and been blessed to do, should I say, I have done it because I know who I am as a person. And I attribute my mom, for educating me well. And then my dad, God rest his soul, for supporting a lot of the things that I did culturally, whether it was starting a Black trivia or, doing Juneteenth, or starting that. So the whole thing is, or doing multiple Black History Month programs when I was teaching. So I say all that to say what keeps me going is because of my history. And I know who I am. Like, our people have gone through so much and have made so many advances in this country. And it's just worth acknowledging and celebrating and keeping the culture alive and doing something in a manner that, again, celebrates, highlights, and really explores our history in a fun way as well as a impactful way. So again, Black History, the committee, and prayers keep me going.
And one of the things I like about this platform, it gives the opportunity for the viewers to really participate. And, you could tell by the wealth of knowledge, because I've been involved with this for a while. It was granted the opportunity to have my own show. But one of the things I've always liked about Detroit in Black and White is the wealth of knowledge from the viewers, who we refer to as our co-hosts. Mm-hmm. And even G Money Hollywood, he brings up a great point. It's great to be able to read, but what's the percentage of people in Detroit that actually comprehend what they read? You are able to do both. No, when you're able to do both, then that is the real literacy to me. Bottom line, I could not agree with you more, G Money Hollywood, because in order to comprehend, you have to be able to understand what you're reading, and that's what dictates the level of literacy that you have. And it's very important that we try to ensure that there's two parts of the literacy spectrum. It's not just reading, it's also understanding. And once you're understanding, that's what makes you a literate reader, because you have to understand and comprehend what's going on. And we just have to do better, because, we all know that the standardized tests were not made for us to be successful. And I always, whenever I see someone to someone that look like us, get a perfect score on the SAT or the ACT, I applaud them, because it just tells me that they were grounded in the learning process and they took it serious. And yes, we all got good scores, but a perfect score, perfection means something when you get a perfect score, because I applaud a person of color that get a perfect score, because the tests are not set for us to get a perfect score. So for someone that, went that extra mile to prepare, if you really can prepare, and particularly when I see someone from an urban community get a high score, because we all know that a lot of the urban school districts, don't teach to the test. That shows me someone that got a perfect score took the time to be diligent outside of the classroom to do what was necessary to achieve at the highest level. A lot of people I know, like right now, there's this place out here. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's this tutorial place, and it's right near a pizza place. And it's good to see that when I go past that place occasionally, there's people of all races there, because at the end of the day, people are trying to get in the best college possible. And if they could get that upper hand, I think Kumon is the name of the organization. If they could get that upper hand to do that and pay to do it, I applaud them. But under the same token, we know that a lot of the, I know growing up in Detroit versus my kids growing up in Canton, it was a totally different, and I know it's an age difference. It was a totally different way that they were being taught versus how I was being taught as a student in DPS. Yes, I was fortunate enough to go to Cranbrook during the summers, but that was only 6 weeks. And it's just different the way some of these school districts are teaching our students. But it's still imperative, and you're a former teacher, it's still imperative for the teachers. You don't single people out. And that's one of the things that I have a twin brother. I went to King for one semester, and I was in some of the classes with my twin brother. And one of the things that had me go back to Murray Wright was the constant comparing of me and him. We're two different people. And it's not a matter of which one of us, of the twins, were smarter. It's just a matter of me applying myself differently than he applied himself. And I think that's one of the things that we have to focus on when it comes to educational process and give people that autonomy to learn at their own pace. But when they learn at their own pace, you've been a former teacher, Sharia, you also have to give them the opportunity to ask the right questions at the appropriate time. And everyone's not going to come to someone for help. And we saw that in college for sure. People just thought that they can get by. But it's okay to go see a tutor in college. It's okay to go see your professor because the upper hand makes a difference sometimes. I mean, I got a C- on the test in econ before. But when I went to speak to the professor and tell him that I thought the test was a little bit biased, and me and him were able to have a conversation back and forth, he changed my grade. My grade went from a C- to a B just because I was able to explain the information that was on the test, even though I may not have answered the questions to how the test was set. And I think it's very important for people to be very involved in their education. And we all need to do that. And we can't just overlook even in college, there are numerous discrepancies in how things are taught in college, particularly I went to both. I went to a black college and a white college. And it's interesting that once I transferred to a predominantly white college, it was definitely different from my experience at a predominantly black college. I mean, it was a complete 180. I mean, I'm just being honest. It was a complete 180. But I didn't have one thing I will give the HBCU I went to credit for. We had smaller class sizes. I mean, when I transferred to Eastern Michigan University, I'm in the econ class with 300 people. I'm in the math class with 300 people. I mean, that was just crazy. I mean, you were just a number. So I will give the HBCU credit for the fact that smaller size, more attention from the professors to you. You had opportunity to, I'll be honest, at a small college, you have no excuse whatsoever to fail any class because there's a lot of one-on-one interactions and there's a lot of interactions even with your classmates, a lot of group projects. So if someone doesn't get at a smaller college, you're not there to get it. You're there to have fun more so than getting what's necessary to get you to that degree.
Fair enough, I guess.
And what's been your greatest, you've chaired this event since I've been around. What's been your greatest memory of being a chairperson of this event? And what's been your greatest regret as well? Because we all have regrets along with the positive things.
Yeah, I don't have any regrets, to be honest. I mean, I get what you're saying, just lessons to be learned. But I would say my greatest memory would be dang, it's been so many though. Like it's hard to pinpoint just one. But I would have to say my greatest memory probably would be 2020 because I know that was only the second year we had done it, but it was just, we literally, like, the governor opened up the state 2 weeks before Juneteenth. And so we didn't know what we were going to do because the world was shut down and we didn't think we would be celebrating in 2020. But in 2 weeks, the committee band together to get people together to do a whole live streaming of a show for people to tune into so they could still be safe and celebrate the culture. And it was just very well received. And that was the first time, for me, that I was able to actually see the fruits of our labor, and like enjoy the programming. Because typically I'm running around and making sure people here, making sure people there, responding to emails, cutting checks, and I don't really get to see the programming. So that was the first time for me I got to see the program.
Oh, okay. And I have a question directed specifically to you. And I'll put it up as opposed to reading it, let you read it yourself.
So unless like God smacks me in the face and I have no reason but to run for office, then I don't have any aspirations of navigating into politics, particularly because I have a family member that was in politics and is about to be running again. So it's a lot, it's just a lot. But 5-year succession plan, what does that look like for me? I have actually worked on trying to get more young people involved. And like last year, Shamir, who's in her 20s, really just turned 21, she helped co-chair one of the events last year as well. So truthfully, I'm not sure what the succession plan looks like, but I do know after this year, we are going to have a meeting with the committee to see what the future of JJD will be. Like if it will be tailored towards more educational pieces for our youth, or who knows. So I say that to say, succession wise, I have no idea. And I'm just hoping to continue to get more young people involved so that they can see the value, and want to take over. So.
And I have to give you credit because you have done an amazing job running the ship. You have the right people in the right places. And I think that's what helps everything run so smoothly because, I've been a part of I'm a 40-year plus member of my fraternity, and I've been a part of numerous committees. And sometimes after leaving a committee or even leaving office, I've been president of, one of the largest chapter Kappa Alpha Psi in America. And sometimes you leave office, it's a breath of fresh air. The one thing I had to give you credit for is, as chairing this event, you give us the autonomy to do what we see fit to run the particular programs that we're running. You're hands off, you interject when necessary, and that is the type of leader that everyone would appreciate. So to the question about your plans for office, it's legitimate because I definitely would have no problem, running your campaign in or working for you if you were to win office, because there are certain, and I'm in HR, there are certain type of people that you don't mind working for. And when you are given the autonomy to just do your job, that's all that matters. And one thing I will give you credit for, over the 3-4 years I've been a part of the committee, you have always given people that had a platform the autonomy to run their show. I'm sure in the back of your mind, you're like, just don't make me look bad. And, and understandable. I've been president in one of the largest chapters of Kappa Alpha Psi in America. So I understand, it's about not making the chapter look bad, but on the same token, as the leader of the captain of the ship, so to speak, without saying it, your mantra is just don't make me look bad. I give you the autonomy to do what you want to do. Just don't make me look bad. And I have to say it, I don't think that, because of the respect we have for you, we make it a point to not make anything messy. And I think since I've been on the committee, we've done that. We made a point to, not just make, your organization look bad or you look bad. We've definitely done. We understood the assignment, so to speak. Yeah. And I think we've understood the assignment. And the people that come out, they have been very appreciative of, what we've done.
That's true. Let me see.
Yeah. Let me see. G Money Hollywood. Let me see. I can't agree with you more about the standardized tests. Most urban children are not equipped to take those tests unless they are coming out of a Renaissance, Cass, or parochial school. And that's interesting, G Money, because a lot of these schools, and I'm not sure it used to be a teacher, right, Sharia? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, I think a lot of the parochial schools, suburban rather, do a better job of teaching to the test. And, I had the fortunate ability to attend a summer program out at Cranbrook where academics is really stressed, as well as attend, an urban school in Detroit. I just had a mindset of, what I want to do. But a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't take it serious as it should be. And then living in a suburban community, I mean, it's just so competitive in the classroom. I mean, my son and daughter, that's what they experience. I mean, going to parents-teacher conference out in the suburbs, at least where I live, the Plymouth County School District, on that first day of school, when you have, well, actually not the first day of school, prior to the first day of school, they have what's known as come meet the teachers and all that. But you have people getting there early to sign up for parent-teacher conferences, at least kindergarten through 8th grade. High school is a little bit different. It's a big open event, but you still want to get there as early as possible. And that's not something I experienced growing up in Detroit where, my parents had to wait to see the teacher. So it's a difference. And I think it's very important that we have to stress education. And I think there's so many ways to do it. And there's so many ways to show people the fruits of the labor of being educated. I'm not saying be educated to go to college, because there are numerous jobs that are well-paying jobs that does not require a college degree. We have to quit steering people to college and get people to understand that trades are just as fruitful for individuals.
I mean, it's a lot of things that's fruitful, but to your point, it's just the attitudes around education and being educated. Everybody has to learn to do something, like even how to walk, how to talk. You didn't just come out doing that. Somebody had to teach you. So it's a level of receptiveness that people just have to be educated. And I mean, I agree with you. Like, no, college ain't everything and not for everybody, but just kind of even the reason why we're doing the Liberation Link Up, like, where else in your life will you have people from all over the world in the same age group on campus in one setting, And that was the thing, like I told my godchildren, like, you can go to college or you cannot, but you got to think about what you want to do, because I never thought I would have friends in Tanzania or Uzbekistan, but I met them in college, So when you think about a more global perspective and what you may be called to do, that's one place in particular where you will meet people from all over the world that can support you or help you in whatever mission that you're in. And like even at MSU, all my friends from MSU that I still talk to are members of BLD,
Oh, okay.
And that's the thing. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like, you never know the connections that you'll make in spaces that are built for you to connect, So that's one of the good things when you think about college and being in particular spaces at the least, And
it's interesting you bring that up because, I got involved with it through Dennis. And, he tells a story that's not true with regards to me going to a meeting and cussing 100 black men out about their lack of participation in the literacy space. But, I just think that, sometimes you have to be deliberate in your message when you're trying to get a point across.
No, I think I believe Dennis. Like
whatever. But I got him on my team when it comes to literacy, so that's all that matters. Right. And let me give a shout out to Ernest Chapman Jr. This is a guy I've been knowing since second grade. So I appreciate you taking the time to tune in, Ernest. Appreciate you. Love you, brother. And what do you see the future for your organization you know, I'm not one of those, give me a 10-year plan, but, I'm into the immediate future. What do you see your organization 2 years from now? Or even do you see yourself, what role do you see yourself, at your organization in 2 years?
I don't even know. Like, I'm more of a present tense person. So truth be told, I'm just going to go wherever we are led to go. And I say that because you and I have had several conversations. So if the trajectory or the mission changes in regards to Juneteenth Jubilee, because one of the things, just speaking of Dennis, that was brought up, like, we set a goal and we've been able to do that. And like, not only have we been able to do that, so many organizations are celebrating Juneteenth and activating different spaces. They may not do it how we are, but like, we've been able to see Juneteenth blossom in a predominantly Black city, and people have a level of pride in celebrating who they are, So I say that to say, who knows where it will go, but I'm down to see. And even with talking to you, like, if we decide to put it towards, like I said, a little educational summer camp, or get us a week program where we make little super scholars, I don't know. Like, we'll see. But in all honesty, one of the things I really do want to do for the committee, though, I would love to raise money, essentially to do kind of like a mini cohort where we can go either down to Galveston or somewhere else, from the money that we raise, to do like an immersive cultural experience to learn more about Juneteenth, see Emancipation Park. So that is one of my goals. So not gonna lie, definitely want to do that.
And let's talk about your CEO. He gave you opportunity, brought you on. You've been doing a great job. And after meeting him, what made you say that this is who I want to work for?
Like I said, I took it as a sign to be there. So I know it may sound trivial to some, but not to me. Like, I believe in faith and I believe in signs. And so when the power went out at my job, and it opened up the door for me to go to the interview. And like I said, it wasn't raining outside. It wasn't like the whole block's power went out. It was just our building's power went out. So I looked at that as a sign to take the opportunity, because sometimes when we don't move, we will be put in positions to have to move. And so at the end of the day, I met with Dewan and Ken at the time, and truthfully, they agreed to allow me to continue to do Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit. I believed in the mission as well, because I taught economics and I understand how important that is for Black entrepreneurs. And on top of that, like, even with teaching economics, every year I ask my scholars how many people had bills or something in their name. And every year hands would go up, because I taught high school. And so with going to Black Leaders Detroit and them providing no interest loans, not only did it align with what I believe spiritually, because identifying as a Christian, it says in Exodus, you should not pay interest, right? And it says in a couple other spaces, but nonetheless, so it aligned with my values, 1. 2, knowing that a lot of my scholars had debt before they even knew what credit was, and before they even knew what they wanted to be in life. So it's like, you already behind the 8 ball before you even know if you want to be an entrepreneur. So just understanding all of these dynamics with our people in economics, and even as my mom talked about, the financial bondage that has taken place with our culture and a lot of our experiences. Unfortunately, it was just vital to work for an organization that believed in pouring back into our community economically, and doing that through community, because the consumers are the ones who are pouring into the pot. So it's literally cooperative economics, and that's how it's cyclical. They pour into the pot to give to the entrepreneurs that open up stores within our community and provide jobs to the community as well. And it all goes together so that people in our neighborhood can see Black entrepreneurs as well as work with one, and then want to become one themselves. So we are increasing access to capital and breaking down some of these barriers. So it wasn't just Dewan as much as it was, again, sign from God, alignment, as well as the mission.
Right. And on these last 2 comments, G Money Hollywood, to your point, he stated that he also has a good friend that went to MSU who is from Saudi Arabia, and he and that person are still connected. MSU certainly has a good representation of a global student body. And then let me put up this other comment from.
Thanks, G Money. That's a great example. Oh, that's the same one.
Yeah, it's the same. Oh, here we go. So G Money Hollywood, yeah, interesting. He used to be in HR as well. He's now more of an adversary or business partner. I've been a part of third-party executive recruitment for the last 21 years. And, I applaud him for being a recruiter, because you have to know, you have to have a keen eye for putting people in the right places. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about yourself, leading this committee. You put the right people in the right places to lead initiatives that you felt had value and could bring value to the community. So, again, I applaud you. You've done an amazing job for leading the Juneteenth event. Even prior to me actually being on the committee, I had gone to one of the events prior to. So I applaud you for what you're doing. And then the final comment before we go, Vanessa Moss, thank you for sharing. This was a very informative show. And the show cannot be what I do. It's based on who I have as guests to provide information to the people. And not just the people that are guests, but also those that are watching and listening. So I want to thank everyone that took the time out of their schedule on a warm day in Detroit. You got the NBA championship game on right now, but you can still have people. They're probably doing both, but at least they took time out to listen to the conversation I was going to have with you this evening. Next week, I have Frankie Darcell on, so I'm looking forward to that. And again, I want to thank you. I want to thank all the viewers. I want to thank the team over at Detroit in Black and White, Adolph Mongo, Vanessa Moss, Jim Nardone, Alan Lango, as well as the person behind it all that really gets everything going for us. Without her, I don't think we would be able to be as successful as the show has become. She does a lot of the work behind the scenes, and definitely want to give a shout out to Teresa. She pretty much runs the show. So I'm going to thank you again, Sharia. Looking forward to this weekend. Going to be a great one. Going to be a little bit hot Saturday, but we'll make it. Yeah, but I'm definitely looking forward to the event on Friday, because again, it doesn't matter how much of a game plan the entrepreneurs come with on Friday to win the money. It's all about the people, and this people will speak with regards to who will win those three prizes: $2,500, $2,500, and $1,000. Yeah, I want to thank Adolph Mongo and the crew over at Detroit in Black and White for giving me this opportunity to present my show, Reality Strikes. And again, I want to thank you for joining me this evening. And for all the viewers and contributors, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for being a part of this show this evening. And enjoy the rest of your evening. And we will see you again. I will see you again next Monday with a conversation with Frankie Darcell, as well as a recap of Juneteenth what year are we in?
2025.
2025. And thank you for all you do, Sharia. You've done a great job with this committee, with this event, and the success is not a singular, but I will give you your flowers, because you just have done a great job of, being a captain of the ship.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me, and thank you to, like you said, all your co-hosts, and looking forward to having a good time. Make sure you come suited and booted on Friday. Put your nice little outfit on, come out, and then of course we got working. Yeah,
come Saturday. Stay hydrated, because it's gonna be a hot one Saturday. Stay hydrated. It's on the river, so we get a little bit of breeze, but stay hydrated.
Right. And bring some sunscreen, right? So yeah, good time.
All right, thank you, Sharia, for joining me this evening, and see you on Friday.
All right, thank you. Talk to you later.
Okay. And for everyone that joined us this evening, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your for joining me. G Money, Michael Williams, Ernest Chapman, Vanessa Moss, who is a regular co-host on Detroit in Black and White, the Detroit in Black and White show. Who else we have? Ira Ty, always appreciate you for listening. You are a loyal listener to the Detroit in Black and White channel every Saturday, Friday, Wednesday, and now on Mondays with my show. So I appreciate you. Mr. Duckett, Michael Crothers, my Cranbrook brother, appreciate you. Vanessa Moss, I think I mentioned her, who's a co-host on Detroit in Black and White. Sam, appreciate you for coming on and joining me. And for all those, I'm now over on the Facebook page. For those that are watching on the Facebook page, I appreciate you. Look forward to this weekend on Friday and Saturday, where we will be having the Juneteenth event on the riverfront. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace.